No worries. Thanks for the introduction. I think we'll just jump right into it. I mean, the only thing I'll really add is it's great to be here. Right? I started in the academy, and that's where I got my start. Right? That's why I'm here now. Right? So I wouldn't have that with the program that is the academy. Right? And through the knowledge that you earn through it. So sure, I have some dream teamers on here too. So shout out to all you guys. If you guys haven't looked that up, check it out. Cisco Live Dream Team is pretty cool. But we're excited about this session. I've been with Meraki for about a year now, and I knew when I joined, I was like, I've got to figure out a way to incorporate this kind of technology and teach our students about it, because it's a huge trend now. Everything's going to the cloud, right? Gmail and Office 365 and AWS and Netflix, and that's the same thing is happening in the networking industry. So I think there's great power into it, and I think you're going to see it a lot when you join the industry. Right? So anybody that's in the industry now, you'll see it, right? It's out there. So I guess I control the slides, or is that you, Karen? Oh, looks like I got it. Sweet. All right. So a little bit of the agenda today, right? The first thing is a little bit of overview and history. What is Meraki, right? Where did it come from? The next thing we'll talk about is our portfolio. It's growing really quickly, and I think I can speak a little bit to our engineering folks as well on that. A little bit about the architecture, like why is Meraki different? How does it work actually? Finally, the licensing. I think it's important because it's a little bit of departure on traditional Cisco, and we've tried to simplify it a little bit. It's usually a very painful thing in the industry, but we've made it easier. And then finally, unlike most sessions, we're actually going to jump right into a dashboard demo. I'm going to show you how these products work and how you would configure them. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask throughout the session, and we'll get to them at 30 minutes after. So who's Meraki? What is Meraki? What's going on with that, right? So Meraki is actually a startup that was created by a few MIT grads. And they were working on meshing technology, actually, wireless meshing, and they were trying to do wireless over a city, right? But they were in Boston, right? They're in Massachusetts. It's very cold. And they're like, we've got to figure out a way to manage this wireless solution without going on the rooftops and freezing. So that's what they did. At the time, they called it the internet, right? From marketing, we call it the cloud. But it really was, let's put an AP out there, an access point. Let's take this access point, put it on the roof, do what we're doing with the meshing technology. That's going to be awesome. But what we're also going to do is be able to manage all this equipment from a centralized web page and connect it to the cloud. And that's where kind of this grew up from. So they presented this wireless meshing technology in the dashboard to Google and some investors. And Google became the first customer. They bought 1,000 access points. And they told them, you know what, you guys need to start a company. This is fantastic. The dashboard is amazing. The meshing stuff's cool. We still use it today. But really how you manage the hardware is truly unique. So they went to San Francisco, started this company. Again, Google being the first company that actually purchased the equipment, and got a bunch of investors in, right? So Sequoia Capital, a big one out there in California, invested into it, and they grew very, very successfully, right? And they keep adding more products. So ultimately in 2012, Cisco purchased or acquired Meraki for $1.2 billion. Right? At the time, they had security appliances, switching, and wireless. Right? So it wasn't just wireless at that time. And today we have MDM, voice, and cameras as well, which I'm going to go over in a second. So that's kind of the history, where we came from, and where we're at now. Right? So we're the fastest growing business unit within Cisco. That's absolutely massive, the growth. I literally just jumped off a call with 1 minute left presenting to a customer, just so I can get to you guys, right? So you guys are more important to the customer, I guess. So I won't name the customer, but it's cool to be here, so I'm excited. Speaking of customers, a few of them are at the bottom, right? A lot of these brands you know, right? Peet's Coffee, Panera Bread. Panera's doing some really cool thing with Bluetooth and analytics. And that's one of the powers, I guess, of Meraki, is how easily we can integrate with things that are critical to businesses. We focus on empowering businesses to do what they do best, right? Most companies don't want to deal with IT. They think it's great, it's cool to give wireless to everyone, but they really just want to focus on their core mission. That's what we're empowering businesses to do. That's kind of our statement with Meraki. Next slide. So here's our product portfolio. Again, it's massively growing. The MV camera just launched last Tuesday. So it's a cloud-managed security camera, complete storage on board, right? There's no, usually in traditional security systems, you'll have a camera, you'll have software to manage those cameras, and then you'll have what's called an NVR, network video recording system, where you're going to offload all that camera footage. So with ours, we actually have a solid-state storage hard drive on each one of the cameras. So it's this kind of edge storage model, which is a complete departure from the normal industry, but it's also simplifying it, because you take the camera, you put it on a wall, you connect to the dashboard, and it just works. And that comes up a lot in our industry, and Meraki is it just works, right? You plug it in and it works. That's what we need to do. So we have the Meraki access point. That's where we started. The MS switches and MX security appliances came out a couple of years after that. Very successful, great and highly distributed environments. We're really pushing for the campus environment and enterprise as well. Systems Manager allows you to actually control iOS, Android, Windows, Macintosh computers. We can push and pull applications. We can see where they're at on a map. We can do asset tracking. We can do a bunch more, right? So it's a really cool tool to actually get visibility into end devices in your environment, which are part of the network. The last product I haven't talked to you about was a product that we released earlier this year, the Meraki Communications, right? It's a cloud-based phone. There are no servers assigned to it. Essentially, the phone is actually the phone I'm speaking to you right now, so if the voice quality is good, great. If it's not, don't tell anybody. But it's a camera, it's a phone that's sitting on my desk right now. It's beautiful, very well built, and it connects to the dashboard, and it works, right? A little bit about the architecture. So generally speaking, if you think about, when I say cloud, right, everyone's like, okay, I get it, what's the cloud, right? But when you think about AWS and Office 365 and Gmail and any other services you might, Nest thermostats, they all go back to a cloud, which is just another word basically for a data center, a distributed data center, which a device connects back to over the internet to configure and manage it, right? So that's all we're doing. We have distributed data centers all over the world, which we call the cloud, and that allows us to basically build tunnels to each one of our products, no matter what it is, in order to manage it and monitor it. And all of this is done with one centralized dashboard. There's not 6 different websites you have to go to. There's not a server you have to access. It's just one website, and I'm going to show you soon. So out-of-band management basically just means that we have all these things, right? So it's highly scalable. We could take thousands, tens of thousands of devices and manage them from a single dashboard. There's no bottlenecks. There's no restrictions. There's no limitations there. Normally in a server environment, when you have phones or APs or any of these things, the server is ultimately the bottleneck, and you can cluster them and distribute them and all you want, but eventually you outgrow them or you have to replace them. So with the cloud, you no longer have to do that. It's extremely reliable, right? If you're connected to multiple data centers, the chances of you going down is highly unlikely, right? It's not even at your current location. And in the event that you lost network communication to any of these devices, they'll continue to work as they would. And finally, it's secure, right? Security is huge. I'm sure many of you are interested in it. When I talk to network academy students, everyone's interested in security. And it's cool. So there's good reason, and it's highly in demand. So this is a product that when you put something and you introduce it into the cloud, people are kind of scared. But the reality is a lot of people put on-prem equipment out there and never update the firmware. They never change anything about it. They don't update it constantly. They don't have any visibility into it. And in my mind, that actually introduces more of a security concern than it would be to cloud manage something, to have that visibility, to be able to do constant firmware updates. So it's a very secure system, and we're constantly going through testing and continue to secure the system. Future-proof. This is the big one. I already mentioned that people will put an on-premise type hardware and never update it, which is a security concern in itself. But it also means you're not getting the latest updates. It also means it's not performing the best it can. There's constantly things that we're doing, like our firewall, we're actually working on improving the speeds on it, all through a firmware upgrade, not a hardware upgrade. So things that are departure from the past. We're also extremely customer-driven, right? Customers actually can go to the bottom page, on any page in the dashboard, and say, you know what, I really wish this page did this, wish it did that. And using that information, we can provide a better customer experience and go to market that much faster. Buttons kill me. I want to push the down arrow to go over, but I have to push the clicker on the top. So the final part is licensing, to give you a little background. Each one of our products have the piece of hardware and one license. And this provides you 24/7 by support. Support guys are awesome on our team, really, really good. They're based in San Francisco, London, and Sydney, Australia. It also provides hardware and lifetime warranty, right? A few exceptions to a few of our products, like a phone and outdoor APs, things like that, and all the firmware upgrades and features. So your device is actually appreciated over time. You have this constant license. You might have it for a year, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And over time, we're going to add new features. You're not really paying for it. It's not like we're going to say, oh, yeah, you bought this 2 years ago and you got to buy a more expensive license. It's the same license, and any features that we get in that time period, you get at the same cost. Again, it's a little bit of departure from the normal Cisco, and it's not to bash on that side. It's just to say that we try to do everything a little bit easier. All right, so here's the fun part, right? I get to go into the dashboard demo. We have 45 minutes, so should be able to get through quite a bit. We'll hit the Q&A a little bit later, but what I want to say is two things. One, if you're interested in Meraki and this session doesn't cover something, right? Maybe you're really interested in security. You want to learn more about a security appliance. We have webinars that are available online. So it's cisco.com, ciscomeraki.com/webinars. You can go on there, pinpoint what you're interested in, and join it. If you actually work for a company, and we would love this, you can actually get a free AP for some of those sessions for joining. So you can put it in your lab environment, test it out, it's completely yours, and hopefully you'll consider Meraki in your future. The final thing is, everyone's looking for jobs, right? So Meraki.com/jobs, we are looking for people too, right? We're looking for the best talent in the world. It's got an incredible culture. You know, if you're especially in San Francisco or London or Sydney, I'm in the field, but you get free food and great benefits and working on, you know, kind of the coolest technology in the industry. So if you're interested in looking for a job, take a look. So I'm going to jump right into the demo. Let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everybody see it? No conflicts there. Kara, are we good? All right, I'm going to assume we're good. So this is Meraki.com, right? So this is where you actually go to manage all of your equipment. You go to login. I'm going to log in right here. I have two accounts. In this case, I have my personal account. I'm running Meraki all year. I got a security appliance, a phone, and camera in the garage, so it's all wired up. But I also have an admin account, and this allows me to look at and view every organization, every network around there in the world. So we have over 741,000 active networks around the world. And this is pretty cool. I know we actually have a way to do interaction right here. So what I'd like you to do, if possible, is use the interactive tool and pinpoint, if you could, if this is possible, on the map. Can you guys do that? Is there a way to show where you're at, or maybe just say where you're from, just so I have an idea of where everyone's coming and joining us from. So while you're doing that, I'm going to talk to it. This map shows you little pinpoints of where networks are, not devices, right? So we have 740,000 networks. Within each of those networks, there could be hundreds, if not thousands, of different devices, APs, things like that. There we go. Cool. I guess you guys could potentially write on here. But what I can do is actually zoom in to one of these locations. I really don't want to do that annotation. If I zoom in here, I can look at different networks, and we have oil rigs and cruise ships and islands, even research centers in Antarctica, things like that, all running on Meraki. And the reason is, think about managing something like that. Do you really want to go in the middle of the ocean to have to fix the security appliance or your wireless? No. So the idea here is the dashboard really opens up new potential and new opportunities. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into one of our branch offices to give you a pretty cool idea of you know, how we do things. But before I do that, let me show you our brand new product. We just launched it last week, and we're going to spy on some people because I think that'd be fun. So we're going to take a look at our cameras. These are posted up in our headquarters, and everyone knows that we're watching them. So this is our coffee bar. So just show you a little bit about the culture, right? So we're going to take a look at a couple cameras. I think it's very early, and I guess it's like 8 or 9 then. So they're making coffee, and we can watch them, right? It's kind of cool. And again, all these cameras do is basically you plug it into the wall, you get internet access, and you can access it, right? All the storage is on the actual camera. You can jump into individual cameras. These all have night vision, You can zoom in for motion detection. Unfortunately, they don't show it here, but what I could do, let me see if I can jump in on one of the cameras specifically. Great. So what we have the ability to do is motion detection. So if you guys have ever seen like CSI or any of these things, this is pretty cool. Let me let that load really quick. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to search this side of the screen, and I want to look at motion in the last 24 hours. And I'm going to find something. This one's 31 seconds. And then you'll see that there's some kind of motion on that side of the screen. It's going to pull the data from that camera. And so there's this guy running around like, got his red shirt, right? So this guy's scratching her back. So hopefully I don't know these people. But you would see motion in that one area. So it's a pretty cool tool to be able to go back and say, you know, we had this laptop stolen. I can zoom in on a box and then figure out what exactly happened to that situation. All right, so stepping back out, let me jump to, I'm going to go to our Sydney office. This is a real live network in Sydney, Australia. Thanks, Sydney. All right, so this is the view that you'll kind of, it's a common place, right? It's kind of like if you had a place to hang out, this would be it, right? So within here, this is how you manage all your equipment. You can see all the different products on the side. They don't have the cameras or the systems manager at this particular location, but that's okay. So from within this, we can see our organization, and these are things like our inventory, going in here and seeing all of our devices and every network they're assigned to. We can look at our licensing. Remember, one device, one license, and quickly see all this in one easy fashion, right? No longer having to have separate spreadsheets or different separated systems to manage it. We also have the ability to do configuration templates, so we could potentially take 5,000 different locations. There's a customer that's doing this now, and they take templates and they say, we want our MX to look like our MX or security clients at 5,000 different locations look exactly like this. We want to have the same content filtering rules. We want to have the same firewall rules, and then push it down to 5,000 different